Where does inspiration come from that inspires somebody to really want to make a difference in the world? For my guest on today's show, the inspiration came from her mother, who survived her childhood in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Her mother inspired Barbara Shaiman to live a life of meaning and purpose, to be able to believe in herself that she could make a difference and that everybody had a reason for making a difference. Her mother reminded her that the sun came out for her after Auschwitz, and the sun will come out for all of us. Barbara has worked tirelessly building intergenerational communities, supporting young people, supporting aging with dignity and with purpose. And I think that you will find this conversation with Barbara today both inspiring, meaningful, amazing. I don't even know what words to use. It's a story of resilience. It's a story of survival, and it's a story of living your life. My name is Wendy Green. I am the host of Hey Boomer, and I thank you for joining us today. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation. Hello, Hey Boomer listeners. I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. And I have a question for you. What does it mean to you to live your legacy? One of the definitions that I found said something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor or from the past. And another definition states a gift by will, especially of money or personal property, a bequest. But what does a legacy mean to you and living your legacy? To me, legacy means leaving pictures and stories and actions that my children and my grandchildren can learn from and be inspired by. I want them to understand about me. I want them to understand about our family history, where they came from. I want them to see how many times I have reinvented myself and to recognize that they have so many opportunities and choices in their life that if they start down one path, they can always change it and reinvent themselves. I want them to remember the humanity that I have shared in my community, in my life with other members. And I want part of my legacy to be Hey Boomer and the community that we're creating here and the motivation that we're building together. For others, legacy may mean a quilting that you've done and that maybe you've taught others how to do. It may be passing on family traditions, special meals, special rituals or holidays. It could be the caregiving that you've done. So I'm curious, what does living your legacy mean to you? As we go through this program today, I'd like you to add those comments to the chat and let me know what living your legacy means to you. Barbara Shaiman, our guest today, is going to share with us about how she has lived her legacy up until now and where she's going to go from here. So as Mother's Day came, I was lucky enough to share Mother's Day with my 91-year-old mother, who is gratefully still alive and well and inspiring all of us. So that was lucky for me. And I hope you all had a chance to do some of that. I wanted to tell you that the Hey Boomer community is growing. We are now weekly reaching about 23,000 people a week through our Facebook posts. And that means that we are able to inspire and motivate so many people. And we want to continue that, and we want to keep growing that. And with your help, every time you share this with your friends and family, tell them they can watch it live, they can watch the recordings, they can listen to the podcasts on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Every time you share this with them, our audience grows. You can be added to our email list if you email me at wendy@heyboomer.biz. You can also subscribe to the blogs on my Facebook page at heyboomer.biz. And if you subscribe to the blogs, you will then also be added to the email list. So hope to see that email list grow too, so that you are able to continue to share. And as I said, please, please, please let us know how you are living your legacy today, and ask us questions as we go through this discussion with Barbara. And if we are not able to answer all of your questions during the live show, we will certainly get back to you after the show is over. And so with that, let me bring on our guest of honor, Miss Barbara Shaiman.
Hi, Wendy. Great to be here.
Thank you, Barbara. I am so grateful that you decided to join us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I love what you're doing. I think it's great, and I'm excited to talk to your audience and answer their questions.
Thank you. Well, let me tell them a little bit about you before we get started. So throughout her career, educator, businesswoman, and social entrepreneur Barbara Greenspan Shaiman has used her skills to empower others to find meaning and purpose in their lives and to create social change. Barbara is the daughter of Holocaust survivors. Her mother, Carola, did I say that right?
Carola, yes.
Carola Greenspan was the sole survivor of a family of 65 people and was incarcerated in Auschwitz. Her father, Henry Greenspan, worked for Oskar Schindler. In 1995, in honor of her parents, she founded Champions of Caring, a nonprofit organization that has supported over 10,000 youth in Philadelphia and South Africa to become leaders in public service and active, engaged citizens. In 2008, Barbara created Embrace Your Legacy, and she wrote Live Your Legacy Now, 10 Simple Steps to Find Your Passion and Change the World, which I have read and I highly recommend. And this has created a platform for her to share her message and encourage people of all ages and backgrounds to take an intergenerational approach to creating projects for personal growth and social change. Barbara, is there anything that I left out that you'd like to add?
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Okay. So as we get started, I would like you to talk about your career. I mentioned that you had a career as an educator and a businesswoman. So can you briefly give us that background?
Well, going to college in the 60s, I found that there were only a few professions that were open to me. I could be a teacher, a nurse, a secretary, or get my MRS. And it's funny because I gave a speech to doctoral students at Villanova University, and they had asked me, did you know you were going to do all these things when you went to college? What did you think you were going to be? And I said, I thought I would have an MRS. And one of the students says, is that a master's in science? I'm so delighted that in this day and age, women are not thinking that way. And of course, it's wonderful to get married, but that was not my academic or professional role in life. So I got a degree at Hunter College in psychology and education and began by student teaching in the Bronx. And my heart just broke open for these kids in such indigent situation in the Bronx. And at the time, at 19, I got married to a GE executive. And after finishing college the next year, we started relocating. So my career is really entitled Relocation and Reinvention to find passion and purpose in life. And I moved to Daytona Beach, Florida, and was the only white teacher in an all-Black school. And I was appalled to see not only the poverty, but to see racism in the early 70s in the South. And again, I felt I have to do something for these kids. And just as I was getting into this program, my husband got a promotion and we moved to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And at that point, I thought, I want to do more. How can I create something substantial that can really change lives? And I got hired by the Title I program of the Pittsfield School District. Title I is a program for youth who are underserved, who do very poorly academically and are typically very indigent. A lot of these kids are in trouble with the law and don't go to school very much. They're truant. And I thought, can I create something innovative? And you know, Wendy, when I started reflecting about the intergenerational work that I'm doing today, I can tell you that in the mid 70s, I created my first intergenerational program. I thought these kids need an adult that will care about them in their lives. Many of their parents were in jail or horrible stories. And I approached the senior center in Pittsfield and I wrote a proposal to take these young people, these were juniors and seniors in high school, to this senior center. And what happened was magical. These young people started bonding with these seniors. They weren't truant. They weren't getting in trouble with the law. They were showing up to class. They were doing their assignments. And the seniors were elated. They couldn't wait to see these young people. It added medicine to their life. They felt needed and loved and nurtured. And I felt terrific about this. And it just came to me that here's a lonely population and here are kids who really need an encouraging adult in their life. And then I created another program. I kept saying to these young people, you're going to need to get a job. Do you know what it means to get a job and be responsible and what's expected of you? So I went to General Electric and I met with the HR people and I said, can we create a program where I bring these Title I students in here and you teach them what is expected in a good day's work? Because they have no clue about showing up on time, doing your job, being where you say you were going to be. And this experience really changed my life because I saw the impact and the gratitude these young people felt because they were able to really actualize their own vision for what could be a better life than what they were having. And I was relocated. My husband was
Again.
in Syracuse, New York. And I had an opportunity to be part of a Ben & Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs ice cream distributorship. We talk about the weight gain because I had all the examples that I would be so eagerly having. But my job was to distribute ice cream to hospitals, to supermarkets. One of my greatest days was selling the Wegmans chain. I don't know if you know Wegmans.
Oh, yeah. I love Wegmans.
The headquarters for Wegmans is in Pittsford, which is a suburb of Rochester. And I got that account, 60 stores, and it was phenomenal. I was so excited. And I just enjoyed the work. I loved meeting the people. I went to Cornell and I sold them the ice cream. I did it in restaurants. I got very creative about what can one do with great ice cream. Because in those years, in the early 80s, there weren't that many competitors to ice creams like Haagen-Dazs. And all I really knew was that it had 20% butterfat. But once they tasted that ice cream, they were smitten. Well, as I was doing well in this job, it's now 1984, my husband gets a promotion and we move to Philadelphia.
Again, another move.
Another reinvention. And actually, General Electric hired someone to help me find a job because I was not a willing spouse at this point. I did not want to move one more time. And they set up a bunch of appointments for me to meet people in the ice cream business, in the banking business, all kinds of businesses. Nothing really appealed to me. And then this guy says, he's from an executive search firm, you would be terrific in this business. You've got good people skills, you're warm, you're engaging, you're interested in people. Why don't you come interview with us? And I said, I hate executive recruitment. They call my husband and keep moving us all over the country. But I went in, I met with the people, and I liked it. And I became the first woman partner in that firm. And I was really doing well. I taught myself the business. There was no course teaching me how to do the work. So I created my own little course. I interviewed everybody in the firm. There were 5 different offices. And I said, how do you do your job? What is this all about? And I really liked it. And what's funny is I specialized in healthcare. So I was going in to meet CEOs of hospitals where I had sold Haagen-Dazs ice cream to the dietary department of that hospital. And I was saying to the CEO, I know your basement level really well. And he would crack up because sometimes I was in the basement level and sometimes I was in the senior suites. But I really loved meeting with search committees, putting together the specs for the job, interviewing candidates, writing reports about this. And then one day, I got the endorsement from the New York City Hospital Association to be their preferred vendor. And to be candid with you, I felt like I was a cash cow for this company. And I was not really getting remunerated at a proper level because I was bringing in a lot of business. I did not have a no compete. I left the firm and I was scared to death to start my own company. And it was my mother, whose education ended at age 15, and as you shared, was incarcerated in concentration camps, who said to me, you can do this. I have total faith in you. And what will you lose? Try it. If it fails, you'll move on. And I'm so grateful to my mother because I was very anxious. I didn't know a lot of women doing this. And I created a national company and I loved doing the work. And I really understood the needs of the client, the needs of the candidate and their family, and the relationships were great for me. So that's where I was before I went on a trip, which I'll share with you in a little bit, how I started Champions of Caring. But at that point, that was the trajectory of my career. Youth, ice cream, and executive recruitment and positions.
Yes, that's an interesting trajectory. And thank you, Barbara. And we have a couple of questions, but I think I'm going to put you in touch with these people because they're more personal questions that,
I'm happy to respond to everyone.
Yeah, thanks. But you did mention your mother. And so growing up as the daughter of a Holocaust survivor has had a huge impact on your life and your choices, I'm sure. And so what can you share with us some of the important lessons are that you learned from your parents?
Absolutely. The first was resilience and being charitable and helping others. My mother used to say to me, in spite of the pain, the loss, the hardship, we need to find hope, meaning, and joy in life. That life is a gift that must be lived. And every day we need to search for that meaning and that purpose and that gift. And I was so inspired by my mother, who lost everyone, as you mentioned, all 65 people in her family, and was incarcerated in 3 death camps, Auschwitz, Stutthof, Theresienstadt. And this started when she was 15 and put into the large ghetto. But my mother would tell me these stories, like when she was in the large ghetto at age 15, she saw these young children, 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, running around. And the parents were sick. Some of them started getting typhus. So she decided to gather these children up every day, and they would play games and sing songs. And she used to say to me, I was 15. I already had lived a good piece of my life. But these children, they didn't deserve this. And it's interesting, Wendy, one of the last things my mother said to me before she died of dementia, she said, honey, if I die, who will take care of those children? And I immediately knew that her mind was back in the large ghetto. And I took her hands and I said, don't worry, Mom, I will always take care of
her. Oh my gosh.
And, my mother, my mother was amazing like that. And she, even with dementia, I would wheel her into the park and she would see children playing and she'd blow kisses to the
Oh,
children. She was the warmest, sweetest, most extraordinary woman I ever met. And her mantra was, the sun came out for me even after Auschwitz. It will always, always come out for you. And in my own life, I know that when there's tragedy, we get what we get, and the sun will still come out. And she used to say, a head without a heart is dangerous. Teach kindness. Be a mensch. Mensch is a German Yiddish word that means good, kind, caring people. And she always displayed being a mensch. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, when she was in Auschwitz, found berries growing on the ground. And when she crushed them, they made a rouge-like substance. Every morning, there was something called appel, which meant the Nazis gathered up the people in the barracks and they would call their number, because, you know, they all had numbers tattooed. Their names were taken away from them as if to totally destroy their identity. And my grandmother would get up at 4 a.m. and rouge the cheeks of the frail elderly women so that they could survive yet another day. And she would say to me, even in Auschwitz, you needed to be a mensch. My father, you know, worked for Oskar Schindler, but unfortunately was not put on that list. Instead, he was sent on the death march. And his cousin Henry was with him. And Henry had typhus and was very sick. And it was freezing cold. Polish winters are really cold, a lot of snow. And they were wearing like prisoner garb, no shoes. My father carried Henry on his back so he wouldn't fall into the snow. And every year for Henry's birthday, he would call and thank me after my father died. And while my father was alive, to him, thank you. You made me live. You helped me survive. But what my mother did, and I just read Viktor Frankl's book, A Life of Meaning, Man Searching for Meaning. And he talked about this. And I used to say to my mom, how did you survive? How did you get through?
right.
How? You know what she said? I dreamed. I said,
She dreamt.
I dreamed and dreamt about getting out of here, getting married, having a family, creating holiday meals. And that buoyed my spirit so much that I felt like this dream could become a reality. And Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, talks about the people who survived had this kind of faith, this kind of optimism that tomorrow can be better than today.
Wow.
So I'm so moved that I was raised by people who, under the worst of circumstances, were good people, kind people, and became very philanthropic people.
Goodness, what an amazing story and role model and inspiration to all of us. So you mentioned earlier about an experience, a trip that you took that kind of propelled you to the idea of Champions of Caring. And I would appreciate it if you would share that story with us.
So in 1989, there was an international gathering of Holocaust survivors here in Philadelphia. And it ended with a march to the Liberty Bell. It was about a 15-minute march there were probably, I think, 1,000 survivors. It was so moving. It was an international gathering.
Wow.
My mother and my brother and my dad were holding hands, marching to the Liberty Bell. And my mother looks at us and says, I want to go back. And
Really?
She said, I want to go back and I want to tell you kids my story, and I want Dad to tell his story. I want you to videotape this and have it in the family so that future generations will know when evil triumphs because good people do nothing. That's Edmund Burke's quote, and it's so true. It's good people doing nothing. And we were appalled. My mother's a physician, and we were nervous. How could they endure this kind of trip? But my mother makes up her mind. It happens. She got 50 Holocaust survivors and their children to come on this trip. We go there, and I could talk for hours, but I will share one brief experience that changed my life forever. It was the day we went to Auschwitz. I had no idea. Do you wear black for mourning? Do you wear white for rebirth? I was so shaken that my brother gave me medication because I couldn't envision walking through Auschwitz with my mom who had survived that. Well, this is a story about a toothbrush. My mother used to compulsively brush her teeth. It drove us crazy. We were always late for every event because mom had to brush her teeth. When she had dementia and a caretaker living with her, she would wake up the caretaker to have her take her to brush her teeth at 3 a.m. We walk into Auschwitz and my mother looks at me and says, I have to tell you something. I was 19 years old when I got here. I had lost everything and everyone, but I snuck a toothbrush into my dress. It was the last vestige of my humanity. They took that away from me. I didn't have toothpaste. I didn't have water, but just feeling the bristles on my teeth so humanized and energized me. Well, Wendy, I lost it.
I bet.
All the years that I had made fun of her, why are you brushing your teeth? And that was the only thing my mother had left as a possession in her life. I ran out into the courtyard. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. And I started crying. And I was actually even screaming. I felt horrific. In the courtyard are these 15, 16, and 17-year-old boys laughing and clowning around. I was appalled. This is Auschwitz. It's a killing place. How can someone behave this way? And they were speaking German, which is my first language. I was born in Germany. I went over to them and I said in German, excuse me, how can you behave this way? Do you know where you are? This is Auschwitz. And they kept laughing. I walked away and epiphany. I'm not going to keep recruiting doctors for a living. Oh no, I need to now work with youth again. I need to teach empathy and kindness and caring. I need to create a program where young people will care about each other, will they do good work, will they become leaders in service. And this name came into my head, Champions of Caring. And I thought, this is a sign. And I came back to Philadelphia and all of my friends thought I lost it.
Yeah.
Kidding me? You're giving up this lucrative national company? You must be crazy. But I was driven, and my mother, my biggest advocate in the world, said, wonderful, do this. So, life has a strange way of working. Your network is so important in life. My best girlfriend, who died a few years ago, was Suzanne Wright. And her husband, Bob, was the CEO of NBC Universal Studios. They loved my parents. And when we came back from Auschwitz, they called me. They wanted to hear all about the trip. And when I told Bob about this idea of creating this not-for-profit to empower young people to become leaders in service and advocates for social justice, he said, I love this. And I'm having a meeting with Steven Spielberg in a week. Can you bullet out your mission, your goals, your objectives briefly? And I'm not going to just hand this to him. I'm going to read it to him. And I was so moved that he would do this. And Wendy, I got the seed money to start Champions of Caring from Steven Spielberg's Righteous Persons Foundation.
Wow.
And I am eternally grateful that that's what gave me the impetus and the ability to start this 501c3 and to teach young people the skill sets to become social entrepreneurs and to value kindness and empathy and break down barriers between people. And as you mentioned, in the years we started this in 95, 96, we've worked with 10,000 young people all over the Philadelphia region. And we started a pilot in Cape Town, South Africa, which is a very funny story. I didn't even know there was a Holocaust museum in Cape Town. I went on a tour and I found myself on a stage talking to a bunch of people about, Champions of Caring, and my father working for Oskar Schindler, my mother in Auschwitz. And the next thing I know, I'm meeting with a man, God rest his soul, he died, Bertie Lubner, who with Nelson Mandela and the chief rabbi of South Africa started an organization called Ma Africa Tikkun, Tikkun means to repair, tikkun olam, and we started a pilot in South Africa. So you never know where you're going to be. And we worked here with college students, bringing them in to be mentors to high school students. The high school students mentored middle school kids. And it was wonderful. We brought in experts to teach the kids about public speaking, about grant writing, about networking, about project development, because I wanted to ensure that they could be strong and capable and have the skill sets to really impact social change. And we brought in a lot of community partners. Our big focus is now on immigrants. And we've brought in partners like HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, where we have lawyers who are helping immigrants with their legal problems. We have physicians from Children's Hospital helping with medical problems. We have a social service agency that's in Spanish, because a lot of our students are Spanish speaking, coming in. And the Philly Pops gives them tickets to go to concerts, which is an incredible gift because they'd never step into a venue like that. And one of our top chefs in Philadelphia, Mark Vetri, has a food truck that comes to the school. And for 6 sessions, they teach them how to cook healthy foods.
Gosh.
So it's wonderful to bring the community together and have so many partners. People are wonderful. If you have a pure purpose and mission and you turn to people for help, it takes a lot of people to be able to make something like this work. And I'm so grateful for our partners and everyone that has been so supportive of the foundation.
Oh, my goodness. You are certainly being a mensch, Barbara, with all that you've done.
My mother would love that.
So going from there, you did the Champions of Caring, and then that's still going on, right? The pandemic probably slowed it down some, but it's, yeah. But you've now just recently completed another intergenerational program at the college level. So tell us about that too, because there's just more to you.
Well, there's a national organization that I'm a member of called the Life Planning Network. And it's about celebrating and redefining aging and promoting positive aging. And I know, Wendy, you're doing that with this program because we're here to stay. We have more energy than ever, and we're going to change the world in very powerful ways. So I was asked to create a Philadelphia chapter. And it was my pleasure to do it because I really believe in the organization and its mission. And I recruited people from very diverse fields. For instance, we had a doctor on board. We have a lawyer who specializes in wills and estate planning. We have a financial planner. We have a geriatrician. We have someone who's written multiple books about grief and loss. We have caregivers, people who are very involved in that field, coaches and counseling, and an intergenerational collaboration team. And we all love to teach. Each one of us loves our microphones and being able to get on a platform and talk about this positive side of aging and how to really make it an enriching experience. Mm-hmm. So I approached Osher Lifelong Learning, which is called OLLI. And I'm sure many of your listeners have OLLIs in their community. I think Mr. Osher did an incredible job setting this up nationally so people over 55 can keep going to college. So I met with Adam Bruner, who's the executive director, and I proposed to him that we teach a course called Mastering the Art of Senior Living. And instead of just having one instructor like their other courses were, how about if I bring you 11? He goes, really, Barb, 11? I said, yeah, here are our topics. Take what you like. But we're all, we've written books. Many of us have PhDs, master's degrees. We love teaching. And we started this program. And it was really, really engaging and enjoyable. And each week, one of us would lead the sessions. Well, I said to the group, how cool would it be if we taught at college students and seniors and brought them together and made it a collaborative effort? Mm-hmm. Well, Wendy, I have a lot of patience. I think it took 5 years to make this happen. And I went back to Adam, and Adam said, the key to this is finding the right professor at Temple. And after a lot of searching, he found this amazing woman, Tanya Giovanetti, who is a professor in the psych department, and she is extraordinary. And we met for 1 year with Tanya, and we put together this class. Because of COVID, we did not bring in the OLLI students, but we, the LPN members who are between 65 and 89, and you know the fabulous Thelma Reish,
Yes.
89, she was on your show. And we met with these students from the middle of January till the middle of April, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12:30. On Tuesdays, the professor, Tanya, would teach about research in the field of gerontology. And I felt like I was back in college. It was so exciting and stimulating. And on Thursday, one of us would teach in our area of expertise. It was phenomenal. Our findings were that boomers and this Gen Z, we're so similar.
Yeah.
We enjoyed learning from each other. And it wasn't us teaching them. We were learning from each other. We would ask them questions about how do you relate to our grandchildren? What's the best way to deal with an issue from your perspective? And it was just a wonderful give and take of ideology and ideas, and the collaboration was very strong. And we realized together we are stronger and we can create important social change. When the course was over, we were all really sad. So guess what? We are now creating an intergenerational cafe.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm so excited about this. We're in the process of putting this together. And I think this informal approach will really be very interesting. And we're hoping to teach this again next semester. We're meeting with Dr. Giovanetti soon, and we're presenting our report to National Life Planning Network at a meeting in June. And we're looking at how can we make it better? What else do we need to include? Because you always want to up your game.
Sure.
And I'm just thrilled. This has just, during the pandemic, I was floating on cloud nine, knowing that every Tuesday and Thursday I was going back to college. And we're having these amazing relationships with these young people. So it added such joy to my life.
Yeah, I am so inspired. And I'm seeing that in the comments. People are so inspired by these stories. And I wish we had hours and hours because I want to know how you did all of this, but we'll do that another time. Because what I also want to ask you is about your book, Live Your Legacy Now. Because I mean, I've made notes in the book. I have it on my desk. So when I start to feel like, what am I going to do next? I can just look up some of those questions and they, spark my thinking. But it sounds like you have been living your legacy like nonstop, Barbara. So what's next?
Well, I want to continue with Champions of Caring, particularly in the Kensington area of Philadelphia. This is one of the most impoverished areas. It's the crack cocaine capital, if you will. You walk over these needles when you go down the streets. These kids are immigrants. Their lives they need so much. And with the partners we've brought in, we can really give them a lot. And I want to continue with that for sure. I want to continue teaching. I'm a guest lecturer at the School of Social Entrepreneurship at Drexel. And I love meeting these young people and hearing their visions for their careers and how they want to make the world a better place. That just really touches my heart very deeply. But something happened last week that is giving me a brand new project, and it happened serendipitously. One of my former champions of caring, who is now 40 years old, who was in the group in 1996, reached out to me and said, I just found some of the memorabilia from being a champion of caring, and I want to reach out to you. Would you talk with me? And my heart was like exploding with joy. I called her. She's a minister in Minnesota. And she set up a Zoom call, and we had a conversation with a bunch of people. And one of the people said, Barb, what happened to your champions of caring? You want to do a longitudinal study and see if they're still giving back, if the program impacted them? And I thought, oh my God, about in 2000, one of the doctoral students at Drexel did their dissertation on our program. And I went to her defense and I thought, I've done this before. Why not do this? Of course, I only have names. I have 20-year-old emails. How will I find them? So I need help with this. And if any of your listeners, know how I can begin to do this, but I want to understand, did this program change their lives? Are they
Right.
doing service? If they're parents, are they teaching this to their children? So one of my girlfriends wrote to me the other day, new book, Barb, champion caring, living their legacy now. And I'm absolutely propelled to want to do this project, but need tons and tons of help. Maybe there's a doctoral student out there who would take this on.
Right. I mean, I think that would be fascinating. And we're getting a lot of questions, Barbara. I mean, we may need to take you offline, but just briefly, like say you wanted to roll out Champions of Caring in another city. Like say I wanted to do it here in Greenville. How would you suggest getting started with something like that?
Well, I am happy to share everything that I do. I mean, you have to have your mission statement, you have to have your goals, you have to have your objectives, you have to have contacts in the school districts. You have to have great people. My greatest strength in life is knowing my weaknesses. And boy, do I know what they are. So I know to pick people and put them around me that can help me in every arena and help me think bigger and better and smarter so I can really create social impact. So, this is a 25-year venture that I've been involved with, but I'm happy to talk to anyone who's interested in this or interested in the intergenerational program. To quote Hillary, it takes a village. It takes more than a village. It takes good people with great intentions who really want to make the world a better place. And I have to say to you that after COVID, I'm reflecting so much, and I know your viewers are too, about who am I? What's my role in this world? How can I make it a kinder, better place? And my answer is stay open to life, work with the people that you care about, do intergenerational work, do it with your family, do it with young children, do it with college age children, because I really believe when you bring disparate groups of people together from different backgrounds with different ages, that's how we're going to solve the problems of this world and make it a better place. So I invite all of your listeners to do that. Stay open to life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you model that so beautifully. I mean, your enthusiasm, I think probably has propelled you to meet all these amazing people that have helped you along the way too. And having a good mission, just having that drive, that belief, that beauty and love that you got from your parents it shows in everything you do and every way you speak. It's very inspiring.
I feel like my mother's right here.
Yeah.
It's such a warm feeling because she was always, you can do it. Try it. Do it. I'm with you. I'm backing you. And I did some gutsy things. I did some crazy things. Some things didn't always work out the way I wanted to. But if you don't try, you don't know. But you have to be prepared. You have to think it through. But
And have the patience, because you said these things took some time.
it takes a long time. You have to have realistic expectations and goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you make a mistake, you learn so much from that mistake to do it better next time.
Yeah.
So
you may have already given us this because, you did share some wonderful things, but I always ask my guests for 2 or 3 takeaways for the audience. And I'm wondering if you have a couple of gems that you could leave us with.
Well, I think post-COVID is a good time for reflection. That song, remember that song from our youth? What's it all about, Alfie?
Right.
What is it all about, folks? What's important to you? How can you be involved in a way that's meaningful to you? I can't give anyone a prescription for what they should be doing, but what do you love to do? What brings you pleasure? What's a social issue or problem out there right now that you would like to address? Who are the people that you could surround yourself that could help you do that? And I want to tell you a quote that has always resonated for me, and it's from Anne Frank. I'm sure many of your listeners have read the Diary of Anne Frank, and she talks about how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. We don't have to wait. Don't let a door slam in someone's face when you're going through into a building. It starts with small acts of kindness, and then you just open up your mind to the possibilities, and the universe will provide if you're open. good ideas, good people, open mind, and a positive attitude. I was down at the Jersey Shore a few years ago, and a woman was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Flaunt your humanity." Now, flaunt is one of my most least favorite words. I hate flaunters, but when it's your humanity, go for it. So I
Yeah,
tell your viewers today, flaunt your humanity.
that's right.
Be good, do good, let it just be, put it out there.
I want to show people how they can reach you because people have been so inspired, Barbara, by all of you have said today. And so if you have specific questions for Barbara, you can email her at barbara@embraceyourlegacynow.com. You can also get more details about all the amazing things she does on her website, embraceyourlegacynow.com. So I'm rarely at a loss for words, but right now I am just overwhelmed by all that you shared with us, and I appreciate that so much.
It was a pleasure, Wendy. Thank you for putting me on today. And go Boomers! Go everybody! Boomers, Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, Millennials. Let's all go together because we will make this a better world.
Make the world a better place. And I love that. That was one of the things you said to me when we first, when you sent me your book. You're like, let's make the world a better place together. And I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Yes, we can. Yes,
Yes, we can. So let me tell everybody about who's going to be on next week. The person on next week is, let's see, Deb Richardson Moore. And Deb is an author. She was a journalist. She is a retired pastor, and she's written 5 books. One, a nonfiction book about her time as a pastor among the homeless. And then she's written a series of mysteries. And we're going to talk about her latest book, Murder Forgotten, and about her experience of being a writer. So that should be a really interesting show. I also want to tell everybody that if they like what we're doing on Hey Boomer and they want to support us, you can do that with buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. That's where you can support us one time or for a year and just keep us going forward as we are growing. So I always like to end with a quote, Barbara. And the quote is from C.S. Lewis. And he says, "You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream." So thank you all for dreaming with us. Barbara said about how important dreams are and how that kind of kept her mother going in Auschwitz. So keep dreaming, keep believing we can do this together. Thank you so much, Barbara, for being with us today.
Thank you, Wendy. It was a pleasure.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.